Okay, I had a student this week ask how to solve question 8 out of chapter 3. For those of you who aren't taking my MBA finance class, I'm taking this problem out of this book, very good book, Principles of Finance with Excel from Simon Beninga and Tal Mofkade. Okay, so let's go. I went ahead and put some of the cash flow diagrams in here and stuff to save a little bit of time. And let's just go ahead and read the problem. Mr. Fox has bought an old apartment for $1 million. He plans to rent out the apartment, and the apartment in its current condition be rented out for $3,500 at the end of each month forever. Okay, so that's what I did here. He bought the apartment for $1 million. I have that pointing down at times 0. That means money came out of his pocket. That's a negative cash flow. And then he's making $3,500 a month forever. Now this is where I differ from the book. The book solution, they do it a little bit different. They use formulas, but I'm just going to simulate forever by using 4,000 months. Because if I go equals 4,000 divided by 12, I get 333 years. So that's basic. 333 years is basically forever in finance. So, but really, technically, I could go all the way out to 10,000, a million. The farther out I go, the better my approximation is going to be. But the problem with Excel, if I simulate forever using too big of a number, then it's going to give me an error. So the key is I'm using around 4,000. I know that from experience, I know that number is big enough in this case. Okay, 4,000 periods. Most cases, 4,000 periods. It'll probably go to 10,000 if you want to be more accurate. But it might make Excel have an error. So if you do it this way, If you simulate a perpetuity this way on Excel, then you just have to use a big number for n, for the number of months. Okay, so I put that in, and then it also said here, cost of capital is 0.5% per month, so I put that in there also. So that's the first way he was thinking about. Now the other way he was thinking about it is he's thinking of an alternative. He wants, instead of renting out in the current condition, he's going to do a renovation. The renovation is going to last 12 months, and during that period he can't rent out the apartment. The renovation is going to cost $50,000 today, which is a negative $50,000 at times 0. In addition, he's going to have to spend $2,000 a month for 12 months. After the renovation on the 13th month, he can rent out the apartment for $4,000 per month, and it's assumed also forever. Okay, so I did that here. This is $1,050,000. I could put this, I could probably go equals a million, and then go over here equals 50,000, right? To have the cash flow separate. One is the cost of the apartment, and then one is the cost to renovate, but they're both at times 0. Maybe I could put it, maybe I should put this above, right? Let me take this, put it above. So both of those are at times 0, right? 50,000 and a million. All right, and then he's going to cost him $2,000 up to the 12th month, and then finally at the end of the 13th month, he's going to get the 4,000. Again, we're going to do that for forever, so I'm just using 4,000. So I'm going to solve this now. I'm going to hit escape to get out of that drawing mode. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to say month, and we're going to start with month 0, and then month 1. Now with Excel, I'm going to use, this is like the brute force method, right? Because I know Excel can handle this, and I'm just going to go all 4,000 months. So I'm going to drag this down to that little number that says 4,000. Okay, and I'm going to go back up to the top again. So that's the month, and we're going to say rent. The rent option, well, you're going to start out with, it's going to be equal to a negative $1 million. And then finally, you're going to have equal to this $3,500 is going to be positive. I'm going to hit F4 because I wanted to keep pointing to that. And then I'm just going to, if I want that to go all the way to the bottom, I'm just going to go ahead and double click. Okay, and that sends that 35. And then finally, renovate. How do you spell renovate? Just one N, right? If you're going to renovate, it's going to be equal to equal to a negative $1 million plus a negative $50,000. So the first month is going to cost $1,050,000, And this is going to be equal to a negative 2,000. I'm going to hit F4 to make that an absolute reference. And I'm just going to copy that down for 12 months, right? Because it's look at the cash flow diagram up above here. It only goes for 12 months. The 13th month is going to be equal to this. I'm going to go ahead and hit F4 again. Hit enter. And I don't have to go all the way to the bottom. I can just double click on this bottom right hand corner when it turns to a cross and send that down. So now I have this all the cash flow stipulated out to 4,000. Again, that's trying to approximate forever. So let's do so we have the solution for A. First we have rent. And what we can do, we can calculate the net present value of each one of these situations. So if you rent, the formula for net present value is net present value. First thing it asks is the rate, and the rate is 0.5% per month. And the values are, now remember when you use net present value, you don't ever use whatever, net present value always assumes you're starting at period 1. That's the way Excel works. And instead of dragging all the way down, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, S-H-I-F-T, and then hold down the End key, E-N-D. And when I'm holding those two down, I hit the down arrow, and it goes all the way down to the bottom. Okay? Then I'm going to drag it up to the top again. So now I have it highlighted all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to close the parentheses, and I would add times 0 in back afterwards. Okay? So my answer is I would lose $300,000 if you take into account the $1 million I spent. Okay? Now this is where I'm going to change it a little bit. If you think about it, this $1 million is sunk cost, right? I'm going to spend it in both situations, and it's a sunk cost. The sunk cost is something you've already spent. And really, to simplify this problem, we could go ahead and here, and I could just delete this $1 million I spent. And in this case, sometimes you do want to keep that into account, but I just want the net present value of the time periods 1 through forever. And that's worth $700,000. So I'm not taking into account how much I paid. I'm just saying, what's the $3,500 forever at 0.5% per month? Now so let's put the formula in here, equals formula text. Okay, so that's the formula. Now I could check it. This is actually the formula to do a perpetuity. Perpetuity is like an annuity that goes on forever. All it's equal to is the number the payment you're going to get forever, and the present value is just going to divide it by the monthly interest rate, and you can check it's the same. Now, since this is approximation, if I take this out a lot of places, it's not really 700,000. It's rounded off, right? And the more months I would take this out to, like I said, the more exact it would be. But this is good enough for us in this case to approximate it, right? We'll still get the same answer. All right, so rent. Now we can do renovate. And if we're going to renovate, well, that's going to be equal to the net present value. Again, the rate is 0.5% per month. And then we're going to do these values. Remember, I'm going to do the Shift, End, hold it down, and then the down arrow. Whoop, Shift, End, down. And then I'm going to go ahead and highlight back up. And that's all I have to do. I hit enter. Okay, so that seems like there's something wrong here. Let me double check. Okay, I see what's wrong. If you look here, what did I forget? What's different? I spent $50,000 in here, so I have to add in the 50,000. So I would go plus a negative 50,000, right? Because I spent 50,000. That was the difference between the first two. So which one gives you more cash flow then? This gives you the most cash flow, right? So I would say rent, because it's higher in NPV, we'll say. The net present value is higher. So let's go ahead and highlight that as yellow. So that's my answer. All right. Now if I want to do B, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this down because I don't want to ruin. I'm going to use goal seek. Remember, we want to know what R, and I'm going to use the same R in both cases. And what R am I being indifferent? So what R are these going to be the same? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this much here. I'm going to copy it down into B. And I have to change it since I copied it. I have to see I copied it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. So I got to drag this back up. So the way I drag this back up, I'm going to go to where it changes to the little arrows and drag it back up where it belongs. And the C9, you can see that's pointing down too low. I'm going to point it to here. You know what, instead of C9, let's go ahead and put, I'm going to do this a little bit different. Let's go ahead and put, let's go ahead and, I'm going to go, before I do that, I'm going to go equals this minus this to see what the difference is of the two. And I'm going to go ahead and guess the rate. I'm going to start guessing the rate. I'm going to say it's 0.6%. I don't know what it is. I'm just going to guess. So instead of pointing to these up here, I'm just going to make my own guess down here. All right, so let's start this again. So this is going to be pointing. I got to move this up. And instead of pointing up at that R up there, I'm going to point down to this R. Okay. So if I did it right, it should be the same. Oh, no, let's make this 0.5 so I can double check to make sure it's the same answer. Oh, 0.5%. So I still have the same answer, 700,000. And then this one I'm going to drag up to where it was. And then this needs to be pointing to this. And this needs to be pointing to this right here. Okay, and that's still 680,000. And this is just basically saying this is $19,713.59 higher than this. Now, if I was indifferent, I could guess different things. I could say 0.6%. Okay, that's the wrong direction, right? Now it's worth more. Maybe I could go 0.4%. So I could keep guessing, and I want to guess till these two are equal, and this is equal to 0, right? But the good thing is I can make, I'm going to get rid of this A here. Delete. Okay, so the good thing is I can make, one way I can do it, instead of guessing, I can make Excel do it. So I can go to Data, What If Analysis, Goal Seek. And I want to set this cell to a value of 0 by changing this interest rate right here. Okay. And then if I go, if I go Enter, okay, so it changed it to 0.42%. I'm going to go ahead and accept that. Now, if I take that out a couple places, probably not exactly 0.42%. It's probably very accurate, right? 0.41636. That's the exact answer. So that rate would make us indifferent. Okay. Now, if you do it that way, you want to say use goal seek. All right. Now, another way you could do it, you could actually, let me go ahead and copy that in for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and go to Data, What If Analysis, Goal Seek. And let's do the problem again. I want to set this cell to 0 by changing this. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm going to go to Snipping Tool. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that so you see what I did. Okay, now before I can paste it, I got to cancel this. And let me paste that in there so you have it. So that's what goal seek looked like in order to get that answer. Okay? So remember, I just guessed different numbers here until I got 0 here. If I got 0 here, it's worth the same thing, so I'd be indifferent. I wouldn't care which. So if my cost of capital was 0.41636% per month, I wouldn't care which method I chose. Okay, so now let's do C. And C, it says if this change, what rent. So I'm going back to the 0.5% again. But I say what rent here would make me indifferent. Okay, so in this case, probably the way I would do it is I probably would what I do is I would just, here's how I would do it. I would say I would go back. I would go back to this original problem. And I would go down here. I would move this down. Let's go ahead and move this down. And I'm going to go equals this minus this. Okay. So you know, if I'm indifferent again, that's equal to 0. So I'm going to use goal seek again. So I'm going to go what if analysis, goal seek. And I want to set this cell here to a value of 0 by changing this. Now remember, well, maybe you say changing this because we're pointing here, right? By changing this. So if I change this, these all below are going to change also. All right, so then if I go OK, it's looking. Now it's really bouncing around here. Let me go ahead and cancel because I should have found the answer quicker than that. So what did it do? First of all, it took that formula away. Something funky is going on with Excel. We'll say this minus this. Okay, sometimes goal seek acts kind of weird. So I'm going to use a different one instead of goal seek. In this case, there's something called solver. When goal seek acts funky like that, sometimes you just want to go to solver because solver a lot of times is a little bit better. Solver would be up here under data 2, all right? This is probably good to learn how to use solver. If you don't have solver on your, sometimes solver doesn't appear under, you don't have an analysis section on your computer, you'd have to go to file, and then you would go to options, and then you go to add-ins, double click on it, and then once you get to add-ins, you go down here to go, and if you don't have solver, that won't be checked. You want to check that and then go OK. Since I have solver up here, I'm going to go ahead and just go cancel. But if you go OK, then solver will appear up here. So then we're going to solver, and this is very similar, but just like goal seek on steroids. So I want to set, what do I want to set? I want to set this to a value of, it's already got 0 in there, by changing this 4,000 right here. Then if I go solve, I'm going to then I go OK. You see this changes to a number, so I'm going to put that down here. I would just say, I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go copy, and I go control. You know, I want to paste this as a number, not as a formula, so I'm just going to go paste value. And then we'll format it. I'm going to format it as dollars, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to the Home tab. I'm going to hit the Format Painter, and that's the answer. Now, the only problem thing I ruined B now. Let's go back to solver. I'm going to go ahead and paste solver in here so you can see what solver looked like again. Let's open up solver again, and then I'm gonna copy that. So you have what I changed, and I'm gonna go back here, close solver, and then I'll paste that solver in right here. Here I'm going to just say use solver. Like I say, goal seek should have worked, but sometimes goal seek acts kind of squirrely. So if I use 4,165, then I'd be indifferent because the net present value would be 700,000, which is the same thing as what rent was. But now let's go ahead and change this back to the original answer because now we messed up A. So I'm going to change that back to 4,000, and then we're back to the original answer. All right. So hopefully that kind of made sense. I went kind of fast. I didn't want to take too long on this problem. So like usual, I'm going to have my picture up here. If you want to subscribe to my videos, hit subscribe. Also, go ahead and comment, like. I'd like to know if you guys like my videos. Hopefully that helped. And that's it for this one.